and a very good morning from Paddington Station. And what a fantastic station it is. It is one of the gems of the railway network. The train shed itself is just a delight to stand underneath. Why am I here? Well, apart from the fact I just arrived on the Night Riviera this morning, I'm here because I went into the ticket office just now to buy a ticket, and the man selling the tickets to me said, "Oh, blimey, I think I might sell one or two of these a year." What is it? Well, it's the Thames Valley Day Ranger. So I've got a bit of a timetable in my pocket. I reckon that over today I can go and visit all of the 4 Thames Valley branches and have maybe at least an hour at the end of each of those branches to have a little look at the actual place itself. I know little of these stations or these towns that are on the end of those branch lines, so let's carry on and see how it goes. Right, well, the plan is that I'm going to start out west and then work my way back to Paddington. So my first ride today will be a regional service to Didcot Parkway, which will take us through Slough and Maidenhead to Twyford, where I'll change for my first branch line to Henley-on-Thames. And first up is this 8-car train made up of 2 Class 387/1 EMUs. They were built in the UK at Bombardier's Derby Litchurch Lane Works. I've not ridden one of these on this channel, so let's have a closer look. Well, the interior is a 2+2 configuration and the seats are, shall we say, functional. And the same goes for the legroom and the tray table. And it's quite odd on such a new train that there isn't USB chargers along with the 3-pin plug, but I could commute every day on a train like this. And one of the true delights of leaving Paddington is the wonderful view you get of the Trellick Tower, Erna Goldfinger's 1970s masterpiece. And beyond that, there's the works around Old Oak Common for HS2. With a design top speed of 110 miles per hour or 180 kilometers per hour, progress is brisk. These are very busy lines with both Great Western and Elizabeth Line trains plying their trade. And at West Ealing, the line for Greenford peels away north. That will be our last branch of the day. And soon we're into Slough, but after a delayed departure from Paddington, the train is already 14 minutes late. And here we are at Twyford, 10 minutes late, and away rushes our 387 as it tries to make up a little more lost time. The first Twyford station was opened in 1839 and briefly it was the terminus of the new Great Western Railway from London. That is, until the Sonning cutting was completed in March 1840 and trains could continue westwards. So we are outside the cute little Twyford station, and I'm going to spend a bit more time in Twyford than I'd planned. I was supposed to be on the 10:15. I arrived here, my train was late at about 10:19, so I've got to wait for the 10:45, so my plan's already a little bit broken. But really the idea of today is to get on these cutesy little branch lines. So yeah, when we get to Twyford and find that the platform's just so sweet, so I'm going to go and enjoy that and wait for my train. And it turns out Twyford is a great little place for a bit of train spotting. Although I was surprised there were quite so many nerds with cameras on the platform until, well, this happened. And no, I've no idea what Bahamas was doing rattling past, but it was a lovely unexpected bonus. And here comes our Henley train, with a Class 165 working the half-hourly shuttle service today. The journey time is just 12 minutes, so it doesn't give the crew long to reverse at the end of each working. These Class 165s date from 1992, and this one is configured in a 3+2 commuter format, but as we're only going 4.5 miles, I don't really think that matters too much. And even though it's a short branch, there's still 2 intermediate stops at Wargrave and Shiplake. We'll take a closer look at Shiplake on the way back. Well, the Wargrave Boating Club certainly looks fabulous in the May sunshine.
This is Western Railway service to Henley-on-Thames.
Henley-on-Thames then. Nice cute little station, isn't it? So what I'm going to do now is have a little walk down and have a look at the Thames and Henley, and we'll see what it looks like. Let's go. On such a lovely day, Henley is looking very beautiful, although this northern lad can definitely detect a distinct smell of money in the place. It's undoubtedly a bit posh. Of course, it's most famous for the Henley Regatta boat races that have taken place here since 1839. And judging by the marquees, they're gearing up for another year. The old 3-platform station at Henley was reduced to just 1, and the old station buildings have now gone to be replaced in the 1980s with what we have now. So while I sit and await the shuttle service, let's look at where the journey will take us next. Once back at Twyford, we will take the train 1 stop to Maidenhead before changing for the Marlow line. Now this line includes a reverse at Bourne End. 165120 is back to take us on the 12 o'clock to Twyford. So let's go! And here's that promised look at Shiplake. It's a very tidy little suburban station. And we're back at Twyford just in time for some more Class 66 action. And as you'd expect, the return to Maidenhead is aboard another Class 387.
Or leave the train at Windsor to London Paddington.
Well, this is handy. I reckon that's my train for Marlow right there. And again, you won't be surprised to find this line is also the domain of the trusty Class 165 Turbo. Blimey, this one has got extensive storage space. It's particularly apt to ride this branch as 2023 marks the 150th anniversary of the first trains to run to Marlow in June 1873. Given that this is a Thames Branches trip, guess what? Here's the River Thames again as we cross into Bourne End. Bourne End is a dead-end station today, but until 1970 there were through services here to High Wycombe, and the line from Bourne End to Marlow was considered a branch in those days, the shuttle service being called the Marlow Donkey by the locals, although the reason for the name is now lost in time. The original station, opened in 1873, was demolished and the land was sold off in 1967. So this single platform affair sits on an old goods siding and dates from around that time. And here we are at Marlow, which has got to be like the Titch's tiny little station. It's really quite cute, isn't it? Or at least it's sort of like a little waiting shelter and then just this single platform stretching out behind you. Yeah, Bourne End, nice little reversal there. Expected that, that's on the map. And as we came along towards Marlow, on the other side of the train, we ran alongside the River Thames. So I'll get you some pictures of that when we return back to Maidenhead. Right now, it's the same as Henley, really. I'm going to go down there. I'm going to find out what we've got. And I've got an hour, so let's see how it goes. Well, it's a very pleasant walk down to the river in Marlow. There's a good selection of places to eat and drink and a lovely riverside park, but I've chosen to duck in through the churchyard here and make my way round to the lock. There's a great view from the slipway here of the river and also the Marlow suspension bridge, which was the prototype for a much larger bridge across the Danube in Budapest. This part of Marlow is certainly quaint, and this walk over the bridge on the site of the older mill should give us some lovely views. Oh, and that 2-bedroom first floor flat is on the market for just £999,000. There have been locks here at Marlow for hundreds of years, and it moved to the present site in 1825, with the most recent rebuild taking place in 1927. Anyway, it's time to move. I've got a train to catch, and as it's an hourly service, I do not want to miss it. Yeah, Marlow, very beautiful down by Marlow Lock, so I hope you enjoyed that. And now we press on for Windsor. And here's 165118 back on another shuttle run. So let's have a look at leg number 3 of the day. It's another simple hop back down to the main line and then on a stop to Slough before we go south this time to meet the Thames again at Windsor.
This is a Great Western Railway service to Maidenhead.
These riverside water meadows do look wonderful. And then we rejoin the waterside of the Thames for the run into Bourne End. Well, we didn't get a good look at Cookham Station on the way out, and it turns out it's a lovely flint-covered, almost countryside station. And so back to Maidenhead, now for the hop to Slough. Thank you, little 165. Time to get back onto one of the ubiquitous 387s, and I remembered to sit on the left to secure that view of the river and the town that's so often photographed from below. I've got a bit of time before my train to Windsor, so let's have a look at one of the station buildings. The ticket hall and barriers sit under this imposing dome. But it's only when you step outside that you can see the French influence in the station building, which was built in the Second Empire style, which is very rare for a British station. And now it's time for another ride on a 165, albeit just for 6 minutes, but it isn't the train itself that's interesting here. Because once we're underway, we skirt the grounds of Eton College on a long, low viaduct until we reach the Thames, where we cross the river on the Windsor Bridge, which is a wrought iron bowstring bridge built in 1849 to Isambard Kingdom Brunel's own design. And as we approach the single platform at Windsor, we get our first look at how grand the station used to be. You can exit down the side of the platform to the Riverside Park, but I'll stay up here to have a look at this old station that is now a shopping centre. Well, I suppose if you can't have trains, then at least the structure is still doing a marvellous job. It really is light and airy in here. And tucked away inside, there's still a few railway features. Of course, the reason for all this grandeur is that this is Queen Victoria's home station. If you recall, we were in her waiting room at Paddington earlier today when I arrived on the overnight sleeper train. And the station really is handy for the Queen. Look, here's the castle. Right, I'm going to pop down here to the park. And here we are in Windsor and Eton. And I had done a little bit of research about the fact that Windsor Station used to be absolutely massive, and then it's been demoted to just being a tiny little one platform, but that the whole station had been preserved as a shopping centre. And I think they've done a very good job, considering it's better than demolishing it. What I'd forgotten was Windsor is ground zero for royalty and royalists, I suppose. So it was a little bit of a culture shock, even for me as a Brit, to see so much royal stuff. I'm down by the castle. Of course, it's full of tourists all enjoying our royal family, which, you know, obviously I'm very pleased that they're here spending their money. But yeah, I think the river's over there, so I'm just going to go and get some shots of the river to show that actually this Thames Valley Ranger does actually involve mostly the Thames. So this is Windsor, and yeah, I'm going to get myself something to eat and drink and then press on, and I think it's Greenford next. The river seemed fairly busy here at Windsor, and it was nice to chill out on the south bank for a while, but eventually it was time to get back to the station. The platform is very busy now, but luckily I noticed that the train stops well short of the buffers, so it's a lot less busy when you're up here. So while we wait for the train, let's look at leg number 4, definitely the most complicated leg. At Slough, I'll get a train down to Ealing Broadway, where I will then have to backtrack to West Ealing in order to pick up the last branch line to Greenford. You see, West Ealing is only served by trains to and from Heathrow Airport. We've already seen it, but let's do it again. Brunel's Bridge is arguably the oldest wrought iron railway bridge still in use anywhere in the world. And here we are back in Slough, just time for a quick platform change, and then things can get all purple. I think this is the first time I've been on an Elizabeth line train on the channel, so let's talk trains. This is a Class 345 9-car Aventra EMU, built by Bombardier at their Litchurch Lane works in Derby. It's got all sorts of seating combinations, as you can see, and I do love the maquette. Langley is the old home of the Hawker Aircraft Company, which built 9,000 military aircraft at the site, the most famous being the Hawker Hurricane. The factory closed in 1958. Beyond West Drayton, the line for Heathrow swoops over our heads. And then we pause to view another iconic landmark, the HMV EMI building at Hayes, now restored as offices. Southall is one of only 8 English railway stations to have bilingual signage, with the name being replicated in the Punjabi language. Well, there's a lot to see at Ealing Broadway, as there's Central Line, District Line, Elizabeth Line and Great Western trains passing through the station, but I've got to hop across and backtrack to West Ealing. And it's just one stop to West Ealing on this train. And there's always time for another Class 66. And here's our last branch line train of the day, and what a surprise, it's another 2-car Class 165. Well, I think we know the drill by now, so let's get on board and get going. This line is a lot more built up than the far more rural other branches, but there's still room for a bit of green every now and again. And once we're over the A4, the train can swing round to nearly, but not quite, join the central line at Greenford, as our line will sneak between the up and down central lines into its own private bay platform. And here we are at Greenford, and although the bay has a platform on both sides, I think you can only enter or leave the train via the north side doors. Wow, Greenford really is something. Look at all this board-marked concrete. Lovely! Crikey, this hall is really striking with all the bare concrete. The station was completed after the Second World War as part of London Transport's New Works programme. Let's check out the semicircular concourse. So, Greenford really isn't a destination like the other three, but the station is a true gem. Anyway, that's enough. Let's go back to Paddington. So, fourth and final one, we're here at Greenford, and it's quite an interesting station, lots of real brutalist concrete, but once you get down to street level, it's a very ordinary little high street. So I'm not going to be spending much time here. I've got about 20 minutes to wait for a return train, and I'll be away back to Paddington. So yeah, I'll catch up with you at Paddington for some final thoughts. And here we go, back to West Ealing, one last ride on a 165 for today. My plan when I get to Paddington is to see if I can blag my way into the Pullman dining with just a standard class ticket. Obviously first class tickets get preference, but you know, sometimes there's a few seats left over.
We are now approaching West Ealing.
Thank you, little 165, and all of your brothers for a lovely day today. Righto, I'm back on an Elizabeth line train for Paddington, and I'm about to do something for the first time, because this train for Abbey Wood will go through the central section of Crossrail and will therefore have to dive underground, entering Paddington's low-level Elizabeth line platform. And down we go through the Crossrail portal. Well, it's all new and shiny here, but there's no way the gate line is going to read my odd little Ranger ticket. But it's fine. A man who didn't want any hassle in his life just waved me through. So here we are back at Paddington, where it all began this morning. And yeah, that was really quite fun actually, going to all the different branch lines. Highlight, definitely Marlow, because I didn't know what to expect when I got there, and it was really beautiful, and probably as beautiful as Henley, except Henley of course was just full of tourists and people who go to Henley. But Marlow was really quite a lot quieter, and was a really pleasant place to spend some time. My ticket didn't work in any of the barriers at all during the day, and when the guy at Slough had to let me out, he said, "You do realise lots of people won't even know what this ticket is." So yes, this is a very unusual Ranger. So yeah, if you want to have a day Ranger that nobody else is going on, then this is the one. Anyway, over there, just there, is the incoming working of my train back to the southwest, and ending my little 2-day Great Western Railway festival. Thank you so much for watching me mess around with the Ranger ticket today. So if you've enjoyed it, then give it a like, and do subscribe if you haven't already, because I release a video every Friday and lots of Mondays as well at the moment. So yeah, if you subscribe, there's less chance you'll miss one. But in the meantime, from a very busy Paddington at just 7 o'clock on a Thursday evening, it's goodbye, and thank you very much indeed for watching.
One of the bizarre things about sailing is that bit like where Yeah.